Let's wait
All right.
on the. Yep.
Is my microphone on? I can't see it.
It should be. Right
There it is. All right.
All
But it didn't look like it was moving correctly. Are we? There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely good. All right. So we're going. We were going to talk about this situation with Project Veritas and the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know much about that,
I don't.
do you?
So you're going to talk about it, and I'm going to listen, and then I'm going to add useless points of view.
I don't know all that much about it. I haven't been following it too closely, but to my understanding, what has happened is Project Veritas got a hold of Ashley Biden's diary somehow. I think they claimed that it was mailed to them. And so the FBI then raided Project Veritas and journalists that work for Project Veritas. And since that raid, certain communications between Project Veritas and their lawyers have been linked to the New York Times, who is currently involved in a lawsuit. They're being sued by Project Veritas, probably for defamation. I don't know the details of that lawsuit. But this is insane. This is the FBI attacking basically journalists because they don't agree with the journalism that the journalists have done.
Project Veritas has been on their radar for a long time, though.
Well, yeah, because they're calling out the corruption, right? They're the guys sort of shining a light under the carpet where...
Yeah, for anybody who is watching... Eventually that'll mean something. But maybe. For anybody who's watching right now, Project Veritas is an independent journalistic site, I guess, or group that does a lot of investigative journalism against various organizations. Like they've done some stuff with Facebook,
politicians, corporations, all that jazz.
Bit of a sensationalistic type of media outlet, but from everything I can see, they tend to be pretty fair on the information that they put out.
Well, they show the videos.
Yeah, they
show
try
the videos of people saying things. They did. I
think James O'Keefe is trying to create a pretty trustworthy site there, organization. I don't know. I like some of the stuff they're doing.
Biased for sure, but honest.
Oh yeah,
is the thing about Project, and some of their stuff is just mind blowing. Some of the things that they have caught people saying.
Yeah.
I think the one guy, who was it? I don't remember if it was. Oh, it was the. He worked for the CDC to some capacity, and he was talking about how basically that they need to create a registry of the unvaccinated, and he was openly acknowledging how that sounds like a certain German regime from the 1940s, but yet he still sort of was. Not in a political sense, in a private conversation, but he was advocating for this sort of thing, which is... I mean, to me, that's just so far beyond what should be considered acceptable, right? Like,
we live in a weird time right now, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it matters now, the information that comes out about these different media organizations, CNN and MSNBC and all the like. It doesn't matter what anybody says, because I think it's like we've talked about this before. I think Trump did a lot of it too, when he was calling everything fake news, right? So when you start to do that, not that I disagree with the fact that
there was a lot of fake news,
but when you do that, it's like you open up the door to both sides to be able to do that. So the one side says, "Oh, they're fake news," and the other side said, "There's fake news." And so then
that's
you don't really
have... That's not necessarily true, though. When you point to something that's actually dishonest and you say that's fake news, that isn't justification to just levy the accusation.
No, but it's like
know?
you're throwing everything out. It's like you're throwing all news media out as fake because one side says the other's fake, the other side says the other's fake. It's like
That's a good idea.
There should be.
We should just throw out the
Well, I
news
agree, but
media
it's
at the moment, just the corporate media.
Yeah.
Just get rid of it.
But it's like there needs to be sort of like a middle watchdog, and you think that would be something like the FTC or if,
I don't know.
what am I drawing a blank? FTC? Is it FTC? The guys that are responsible for making sure that everything's like kosher on TV and shit.
I don't know.
What is the fucking name? Anyways, whatever. I'm drawing a blank. But you think that body would just kind of govern them all and say, look, almost like fact checkers do, but like an independent middle of the ground to say this is just not factually correct. This is not factually correct. Or you get, like you said, if you're openly biased. If you're openly biased, then just say it. So this is an opinion piece.
Yeah,
and
a lot of the issues is you have CNN, MSNBC, all these places posting articles as news that are just complete opinion pieces.
Right.
You know, I'm blanking on an example right now, but there have been several egregious examples of them just kind of stating their opinions on a situation that hasn't been fully fleshed out or where information is limited.
What about this Rittenhouse thing?
Yeah, well, in this Kyle Rittenhouse case...
same thing. They're basically, he was guilty before...
Well, you have...
before the trial.
Well, you have... famously, you have Anna Kasparian coming out and admitting...
Oh, I saw that. That was good.
Yeah, she admitted that she got the case wrong. But what's insane about that is that she, for a year, she sort of basically she spread fake news about the Kyle Rittenhouse situation, and she hadn't even watched the video.
Right.
The most pertinent piece of evidence. She had not seen it, and yet here she was, this prominent figure, somewhat going out there and saying this is the way that things are in this case. So, like, people go to her for news, right? But there are people who think that she's honestly, as best as she can, describing reality about a certain situation, but she hadn't even watched.
No, I agree.
It's like CNN with the Covington kids.
Yeah.
Right. That information was available.
But you gotta give her some credit though for actually coming out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's credit there to be
absolutely
to be given. But I agree with you. Like, for a year, she did a bunch of damage.
Yeah.
And now it's like one retraction, essentially, not a quiet, but like one retraction, and not like repeated over and over. But you had this lie repeated for a year, right? So
yeah, like the whole thing. And you have
and did you see what ended up happening with that Gross
that Gage Gross
whatever. Gross is good enough.
Yeah.
The guy who said his arm was vaporized, which, if you see that video,
it might have been vaporized.
Oh yeah, he lost 90% of the muscle apparently he's gone in his arm.
It's like right in the bicep, right?
Yeah. But he probably had a really tiny bicep anyway. And then...
Well, yeah, he's a leftist, so.
But anyways,
soy.
There. So then he goes on CNN, basically retracting what he said.
Well, no, he just lied. He just straight up lied. It wasn't a retracted. Like, he under oath stated that. This is paraphrasing, but he basically said that Kyle did not fire on him until he pulled his gun on.
Yeah,
Kyle.
until he had his gun.
And then he went on CNN and he said something completely different. Now, credit to CNN. I think they did play the video
it was
from
Anderson.
the trial.
It was Anderson
Cooper. Yeah,
Cooper.
I think, or was it Don? I don't know.
No, it was Anderson Cooper. I watched it.
Yeah.
And he plays it, and he asked him about it.
Yeah.
And he said, he goes, well, Gross was saying that the still pictures look different. Like, they kind of portray a different thing.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here.
Well,
what do you mean?
But what he's saying in public on live TV is completely different than what he's saying under oath.
Yeah.
Under, threat of perjury.
Exactly.
Which is
Which,
know,
then
very
you
telling.
You should look at it and just be like, yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Like,
You said the truth already.
What kind of a person? You know, like, how do you do
He's
that?
a dickbag.
How do you... It doesn't make any sense. But it's all strategic, right? It's all about the narrative. It's all about, you know... So it's... I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. It's fucking crazy, though.
Well,
that's all.
Again, like
that's all.
We've said this before. The information doesn't, or the truth doesn't matter anymore. It's all about the information that you just keep repeating, and then it becomes the truth.
Postmodernism, yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's all about the narrative. It's all about.
Yeah. The truth doesn't mean anything.
No.
And that's why like people have such a hard time accepting
into teams now.
the video.
Yeah.
They look at the video and they're like.
But there are a lot of people who actually seem to be waking up somewhat, which is good. To, you know, they're seeing the video, they're seeing the information. Like, oh, there are a lot of people who didn't realize, like, they genuinely thought that Kyle Rittenhouse just went to this protest to shoot black people, and they didn't realize that, like, basically, I don't think there was a single black person there.
Pretty much
when it happened, but certainly none of his victims were black,
right.
And so they just thought that this, because of, you know, the lies that the media tells, they just thought that this kid went to Kenosha to kill people, and in reality it's the most clear-cut case of self-defense you've ever seen in your life. He didn't fire. He was in an extremely stressful situation. People had threatened his life that night, and he still managed to only fire on people who were of immediate threat to him.
Now,
actively trying to harm him.
Now, what do you think about the whole thing? Like him going there, for one, he's 17, goes there with an AR-15 illegally, obviously.
No,
he's underage, and it was illegal for him to.
No,
he's being charged.
That's actually not true.
Yeah, that is true.
No,
he's being charged with misdemeanor.
No, they dropped those charges because it's not true. Because so it's weird. The gun laws are fucking weird. It's handguns that you can't. So like they were asked him why he got the AR-15.
Well, the one kid on the stand was saying that he bought the gun for Rittenhouse. He had to buy it for him because he was underage, so he couldn't buy it.
I'm pretty sure Kyle said that he got the gun.
No, you see the guy that was on stand.
What they were saying
was
he couldn't buy a handgun because it's like 16 to 18-year-olds can't buy handguns because the gun laws are made by leftists who don't know anything about guns. It was some weird hunting thing. I don't know. But when Kyle was asked why he got the AR-15, he said that like that was he couldn't get a handgun, so that was sort of the next thing.
I don't know. The thing I saw was the guy on the stand said he bought the gun for him. Kyle shot his gun.
They dropped the gun charges.
Anyways, whatever.
Either
way, that's not my point. My point, my general point was initially, like, what do you think about? So, okay, here's my position, and then I'll get your point from it. I don't think
You're
obviously.
Wrong.
What's that?
You're wrong.
Probably, but I don't think. Obviously, I think it's self-defense. I think it's clear-cut self-defense, but I kind of think the kid's a dickbag. He's one of these kids that like he wants to play like he's in a position of power. So he shows up at this place, and the spirit of it, I agree with. The idea of like protecting property or stopping people from burning shit and stuff like that. But then he's like, I'm here as a medic, and he just seems like he seems like a little dickbag.
He was performing first aid that night.
Yeah, he seems like a little dickbag to me, to be honest.
I disagree.
So it's funny to me. He's the kind of guy that I don't think I'd want to be a cop. Because I think he'd be the guy that was just so power hungry to the position, was just so happy. I think that's
an insane take given what happened.
No, why?
Because he only fired his weapon on people who were immediately.
So he went there.
Right. So
did he have property there to protect?
So, it was his hometown.
No, it wasn't. He's from out of town.
No, he's from Kenosha.
But
it was his hometown.
He lives out of town.
But he grew up in Kenosha or something like that. It was his hometown.
Whatever.
So when the institutions fail and your city is under siege, what do? He decided to do something.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Agree
to disagree. Listen, the spirit of it I'm kind of for, because I like the idea of we got a bunch of dickbag protesters burning shit. And
It's not
looting
just
and rioting.
them doing that,
But listen,
though. It's the institutions failing, the police.
What I'm saying, but you got a
refusing
bunch
to
of
do
these
anything.
dickbags out on the street doing this shit, and citizens are stepping up to stop them. I'm all for that sort of spirit, right? Because I'm
They're
like
not even
that.
trying to
I'm
stop
kinda
them. Like, he was just there to keep things
He
safe
wasn't.
and.
He was protecting property, apparently. That's what he originally said. And
No,
provide
he was there to do
provide-
safe aid and yeah.
so first aid from gunshots that he inflicted. No, but from first
That's
aid,
fucking
first
dumb.
Aid, I know, but first aid for what, though?
People are out there protesting. They get hurt. They fucking do stupid shit. They're playing with fire and dumpsters and shit. And
So he's just there to do that.
he was there to keep things civil.
Yeah, okay.
Well, what do you mean with a gun? We had fucking months of rioting where people
So if
were
a guy showed up out of nowhere with a fucking AR-15 in his hand, and he's like, "Here, I'm just here to keep the peace," that's not gonna put you at. You're gonna be just at ease. Like, I don't know this guy from Adam. He's got an AR-15 strapped around his shoulder. You're just gonna feel at ease. You're gonna be like, "Oh, cool." Like, if we're having a pool party out there, and he just shows up and he's like, "Here, I'm just here to keep the peace. Anybody slips and falls and scratches themselves, then I'm here to provide first aid." You're going to be like, "Oh, yeah, I feel comfortable." Or you're going to be like, "I'm a little fucking uncomfortable with this guy standing around with an AR-15.
Right, because if the threat is falling from a pool, a gun is unnecessary. If the threat is violent rioters, a gun is a little more appropriate.
Okay, but who is he protecting? He's protecting property. He's not really protecting
everybody there.
But
He was
everybody
there
there
for the
are,
he was a supporter.
But if they're all
of Black Lives
protesters,
Matter.
then he's protecting protesters from themselves?
Yes.
No, he was there to protect
Yes,
property.
quite literally. Yes, he was there to keep the thing civil. He was a supporter of the Black Lives Cause movement.
And who is he to do that?
He's a guy who
A
cared.
17-year-old kid.
He's a guy who cared.
He's
was
just a
cleaning
17-year-old
up-
kid
He, was cleaning
who
up
threw himself
graffiti.
in the mix of stuff, and now he's
Yeah.
trying to pretend like he's some kind of victim of what he put himself through. I'm not saying that he wasn't justified in shooting. If you guys are attacking with a skateboard and shit like that, that's clear cut to me. Like, that's obviously self-defense. But he put himself in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. So he can't play victim after the fact
Good for him.
of the situation. He's a victim
he's
of...
not playing victim, though.
Well, like, kind of.
No, he's not doing anything. He hasn't said anything.
Wow, whatever.
He literally hasn't said anything. He is not playing any game.
All right. So
It's everybody else. You're caught up in the media, man.
No, I'm not caught up in the
Yes,
media.
you are. You're saying he's playing victim.
How am I
He's
caught
not.
up in the media? I'm caught up in the media.
Yes.
I'm probably more anti-media than you are.
Well, you have this narrative that is
No, I
completely
just think he's
bogus.
probably a dickbag. He's
Why?
probably one of these mall cop fucking dickbags that walk around trying
if
to
if he was
police
that, he
people.
would have shot more people. He
No,
could
but
have
it's-
easily. There was like
And then,
six people.
okay, have you watched
chasing him.
any of the fucking? Have you watched any of the case?
I watched the video.
So the one question they asked him, and I love this question because he's lying through his fucking teeth. They go, the cops apparently had said something to him and some of the other people, some of the other guys there, the whatever you want to call them, militia or whatever the fuck we're calling them now, but had said thank you for being here, or basically they thanked him, whatever. And he was asked, did that make you feel good or whatever? No, as if you weren't there for that kind of accolade, like. The kid's going into policing. He's doing all this kind of stuff. So these kinds of guys, that's the whole reason they do it. I know guys that are in the auxiliary, like police auxiliary, that act like they're cops. But all
he
they are
did
is
not
event
exert
cops.
any kind
These
of power
are
over
mall
anybody.
cop type people. These are the people
He exerted no power over anybody the whole night, and you're sitting
I'm
there
not saying that he did or anything.
Well, you're saying that's what he went there for. You're saying that he went there to do that.
He's doing that.
No, he's not. He was literally
He's not
cleaning up
police.
graffiti.
He's not police.
He was putting out fires. He was administering first aid to people. That's what he was doing. He wanted to
What
help.
video have you seen of him doing all those things?
There isn't video of him doing all those
So
things.
you're hearing conjecture.
There
and
are
you're just
witnesses.
thinking. But you're just
What
taking
was his name?
conjecture.
The guy that filmed the whole event testified.
How do you know how he's talking to people and stuff? How do you know any of it? You don't know how.
Well, we know that he fucking ran away. We know that he encountered these guys earlier. Apparently, this is what what's his name? Hernandez, the guy who filmed the whole thing, testified that Kyle had successfully de-escalated the situation earlier. One of the guys, I think it was the guy that got killed, said to Kyle, "It's like, like I'm gonna kill you" or something. Kyle left. They did their own thing. Later, they encountered him again, and then they went right after him. Apparently, what did Kyle say? He said, "I'm going to the police," is what he said, and then what was the guy's name that was testifying?
Which one?
The guy that got shot in the arm.
Oh, gross guy.
Gross guy. He testified that he heard Kyle say, when Kyle said, "I'm going to the police," he thought that he had said, "I work with the police," which makes their whole situation worse. That now that they they thought that they had caught a police informant in the protest and went after him. They fucking were literally trying to kill him. There's no doubt that they were trying to kill him, or at least a couple of them were trying to kill him. One of them had previously threatened his life, and he tries to run away. The whole thing. He had left the situation before, they encountered before. He tried to run away again, couldn't get away, had to fire his gun.
Oh, listen,
at the last result. He exerted zero power over everybody. He is somebody who felt helpless that the institutions were failing. Maybe he could have done something different. Maybe he shouldn't have that. But whatever. His motive is he's a fucking kid who feels helpless.
How do you know what his motive is? You don't know what his motive is. You're just implying.
You have to go with what he says.
Well, I don't.
And what he did.
I don't necessarily believe him 100%.
Okay, well,
I just go on what he did, right? So he goes.
He shows up. He administers first aid with people. He puts out fires. He cleans up graffiti
with an AR-15 wrapped around his neck.
And thank God he had that AR-15 because he would be dead
for himself. Maybe he wouldn't have. Maybe he wouldn't have been attacked the same way if he didn't.
And he would have never fired the gun.
But he might not have. It might not have gone that way. It might have gone that way because he had the AR-15 wrapped around his neck.
I don't know that.
Well,
that doesn't make any sense.
What do you mean it doesn't make any sense? If I go somewhere and I'm threatening to people, I might be threatened. But if I go unassuming and I'm just a wallflower somewhere,
running away,
doesn't mean necessarily anybody's going to attack me or even look at me because I'm not a threat to somebody or posing.
Fleeing to the police.
What I'm saying though is he's a threat just by looking at him because he's got a fucking gun attached to him.
He's not a threat when he's running away. He's turning on the other. He's no longer there. He is not a threat.
I'm not saying at that point. I'm saying all prior to that. But I'm not even defending the fact that he was attacked or anything. I'm not defending the attackers. I think they're a bunch of dickbags too. What I'm saying though is it is a threatening thing. And have you not ever been around someone with a gun?
I've shot guns.
Well, I'm saying, but just being around someone that you don't know with a gun. So when I've been on a cruise, when I went on a cruise a couple times, and I go to ports, especially in like Mexico and shit, get off the ship, and the guys are standing there with fucking machine guns in front of you. Even though you know that they're military guys and they're there basically to make sure that you're okay and you're not being attacked by anybody, so they're there for your safety, it's still very intimidating, these guys standing there with a gun. If the wrong thing happens, somebody can get shot. So it's already a tense situation is what I'm saying.
That's why everybody should have a gun.
Well, okay, but that's a different debate. What I'm saying, though, is this kid goes somewhere that he didn't have to go to, gets into some shit. He brought that shit on himself a little bit.
He brought the situation on himself. That doesn't mean that his motives weren't just and pure and noble.
but you're speculating what his motives are because maybe they align with
I'm
your
not speculating. I'm taking his word for it and his actions. And looking at the video and saying, okay, yeah, he didn't want to hurt anybody. He wanted to help. You don't know
what his actual motives were. It doesn't matter what he says his motives are.
Okay, well, what do? You just assume that everybody's the worst? No, everyone's acting in bad faith and everyone's
just think that maybe
not being honest?
He shouldn't have been there with a gun.
Okay. Maybe he shouldn't have.
Maybe that.
Who cares?
Maybe that.
He has a right to do that. He should have a right to do that.
Yeah,
freedom.
Sometimes.
And when the institutions collapse, you need to exert that freedom.
He's a 17-year-old kid. What's a 17-year-old fucking kid know?
He doesn't know anything.
Exactly.
He knows that he wants to help.
I know his mom. I know his mom probably should have stopped him.
Maybe
mothered him a little bit better.
Maybe she fucking didn't know what he was doing, and then bam.
Yeah. Listen, and again, like I said, the spirit of it, I like the idea of stopping a bunch of dickbags from burning and looting and doing all that shit. But a 17-year-old kid, what the fuck does he know?
He doesn't know anything. But that doesn't mean that, like, it does not mean that his motives are not pure.
I don't know, you know what,
and
man?
in the best intent to go and help the city.
You're giving him the complete benefit of the doubt.
Absolutely. At this point,
I'm not giving him.
At this point,
I'm
absolutely.
kind of in the middle. I'm like, I think.
I'm taking his word for it. I'm looking at the video. I'm looking at witness testimony at what he did. I'm saying,
did you see the cry out? Did you see his cry?
Yeah.
Did that feel good to you? Did that feel like?
That feels like a fucking kid that was almost murdered that night and was forced to kill somebody.
I don't know.
That looked like a fucking PTSD breakdown.
I think it looked a little fake, to be honest.
Man, that's insane. The kid almost died.
How's that insane?
He's a 17-year-old kid, and fucking 2 people tried to kill him at least.
Yeah.
There were 6 people chasing him down,
Yeah,
and he was forced to use his weapon,
Did
and
you
a
see
person ended up dead.
Did you see the after?
How the fuck would you feel?
Did you see the 11 minutes when he was in custody by the police and stuff?
When?
So right after, basically. So his mom's they're in an interrogation room. It's an 11-minute video. He's in the interrogation room with his mom. The cops are gonna try to take a deposition from him. He invokes his right to legal counsel, and they stop. The whole thing. There's at no point is he crying, upset, or any of that shit. This is right after the fact. You think he'd be a little bit fucking messy there? I feel like it's a little contrived. Like I'm not, and again, I don't really care because honestly, I think it's a slam dunk case. Like he's shot when he was being attacked. But I think
butchered that case themselves.
Oh, I know. Oh, absolutely. I don't even care about that. I think they couldn't have done anything. I don't think they could have done anything anyway because the video is the telltale.
Some of the sound bites, I forget who they were talking to.
But is this the kind of guy though? Like, okay, is this the kind of guy that you'd want to be a cop?
This guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
I wouldn't.
Absolutely.
I don't think so.
Absolutely.
You know why? Because I think he has too much of an ego about it.
No, I don't think so at all.
I think
I don't see that at all.
I do. I see him being one of these people that are like, he's so in love with the job itself and the accolades that come from that job and the power and all that kind of thing. That's why I think he's there with that kind of gun. I think he's there with that gun because that gun represents some kind of power for him. I think he's probably a little twat in general, just like he's probably just, like maybe he was bullied and shit like that. And now this is his little way of being in power and control. And again, I agree with the spirit of it because
despite the lack of attempting to gain power and control over the situation.
But I think the gun is enough.
I don't think it is.
I think it is.
I think
sure
you're
it is.
afraid
Have
of
you ever
guns.
shot an AR-15? That gun's
An AR-15.
that gun's amazing. I've shot an AR-15.
I want to shoot an AR-15.
That gun does not even
I
feel
want
like
to
a
shoot
gun.
a lot of guns. I want to go to a range with all kinds of guns.
I unfortunately I shot at a range where you had to wait 3 seconds every shot, so you couldn't pepper it. Yeah, so it was like pop.
I didn't even have to do that when I shot a handgun. Pop. I didn't have to. I was allowed to. Well,
where
at first at Urban Tactical in Brantford.
Oh, I did it in the States.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See,
So my buddy has.
Yeah, I went to Brantford there, and they teach you how to. It's like, it's your first time. They teach you how the gun works.
Yeah.
You take a couple shots, and the guy kind of walks you. He's like, all right, take a few shots, all right. And then I was there with the friend. He's like, fucking, you go. And then eventually he's like, all right, you got 20 rounds in the magazine. Go for it. You could.
Really? Eh? That's cool. Yeah, but this was every 3 seconds, so we had to put it on the semi setting and just pop. But I mean, it's funny because you shoot a handgun and that fucker like kicks. That fucker's all over the place. But that AR-15, man, there's really no kick. It's just like this. The kick is like this. Oh yeah,
because it's designed to go into your shoulder.
Right. So that's why if you see when he shoot, that's why he had such good aim. Essentially, like he was able to hit the guy in the arm. If that was a handgun, guaranteed that gun would be here, right? Especially if he's got one hand, he's trying to balance himself or that kind of shit. Like he was basically down like this when he shot. But that gun is so well designed to be a killing machine. That thing is just it's awesome. It's pure awesome. My ex-wife shot it, and she looked like fucking Rambo. She shot better than I did.
It's a cool looking gun.
Oh, it's stupid good. But, anyways, yeah, I think this it's funny because of this case, because it was so sensationalized for like a year and whatever it's been now, that's dragging out longer than this kind of case normally would have.
Is it really though?
I think so.
They're supposed to have a verdict on Monday.
But I'm saying,
I feel like that's quick.
I know, but I mean, with everything that happened, like, so the stars or the prosecution star witnesses were basically for the defense.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems.
Well, did you see the guy? They were like, we didn't ask you to change your testimony. He's like, well, no, you did.
Yeah.
Like, why would you ask that question?
The videographer guy from the Daily Beast or something.
Daily
like
Beast
that.
or Daily Mail or
Daily Mail or something. Yeah, one of those anyway.
One of the daily sites.
There's Daily Beast,
Daily
Mail,
Wire
Daily
is
Wire.
Ben Shapiro, so it probably wasn't.
No, it wasn't Daily Wire. It was Daily. I think
Daily
you're right.
Mail
Daily
or Daily
Mail.
Beast.
I think it was the Daily Mail. But hey, so and also the prosecutor. You've seen Game of Thrones, right?
No.
You not watched Game of Thrones?
No, I haven't.
Okay, nobody.
I
Just
missed
don't even
it.
listen to him anymore. Don't listen.
I missed Game of Thrones.
Don't listen to him because like, how
I
can you even listen to your
completely-
fucking opinion?
I completely missed Game of Thrones.
Anyways, Littlefinger. Do you know who Littlefinger is from Game of Thrones?
No.
Okay. Well, anybody who's listening, Littlefinger. If you look up Littlefinger
Mike's
from
listening.
Game of Thrones, that's the prosecutor.
Littlefinger?
Yeah. Look up Littlefinger right now. And if you know what the prosecutor looks like, yeah. It's good to see he's got some extra work after Game of Thrones. he's been put to work.
Game of Thrones is so much like I want to watch it, but
Look,
it's
right
so
there.
he is.
That's him, man.
He's got like a thinner face.
Oh,
but
get out of
yeah,
here! It's him.
This close. It's pretty
It's
close.
really close. Yeah, as soon as I saw him, I
Their
went,
whole
"Holy
case
shit."
fell apart too when the gross guy
The gross guy. I love that.
basically admitted that
Continue.
Kyle didn't fire on him until he pulled his gun on him. It's like
Did you
There
see
you
that
go.
he tried to say that first though? He tried to say that he did. Like he was trying to go against that, and then the defense had to like kind of corner him to it. And then
I thought it was the prosecutor who was, the prosecution was questioning him when he said that. I think.
No. It was once the defense said it, and then he said about him pointing the gun at him and putting his hands up and stuff.
Was
But-
it?
Yeah, because he was the one that said, "Is it true that he didn't actually shoot you until you had pointed the gun at him?" That was the defense saying that. But it was funny how like he was trying not to admit to that. Are you looking it up?
I
right now?
wanna see who was questioning him.
I'm
I feel like it was
99%
the
sure
prosecutor
it was-
that says that.
No, but why would he say that? That makes the case for the
Because they're
defense.
bad at what they're doing. That's the only way.
I don't necessarily. No, honestly, I don't think the prosecutor's bad. I think the prosecutor is.
Working with
He's working with a
clear-cut
garbage case.
self-defense. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's working with a garbage case. Like I feel like it's almost like somebody has told him, "Look, this is gonna be suicide for you, but we'll take care of you on the
Well,
back
did you
end."
see the part where they accused Kyle of, or they asked him why he hadn't spoken since the incident?
Oh, I know. And then he was saying that
Yeah.
he had said something to GQ magazine or some shit. The prosecutor was saying that he
Well,
he'd
I don't know.
spoken to
He commented on his silence,
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Cause
and the judge is
and
like, that is a constitutional violation
Yeah.
for you to do that.
yeah.
Or I think the judge said it's close to, if not over
Yeah,
the line.
but that what he was saying, what the prosecutor was trying to say is that.
They did it again with
I know.
with Hernandez.
But you gotta, so you gotta delve in a little further. So he was talking about it after, and he was saying to the prosecutor, the prosecutor was saying to the judge, he was saying that Rittenhouse was talking. He had an interview, a phone interview with either GQ magazine or the Washington Post or something like that, where he was talking about the night, and he said if he's glad that he had the gun, he said he's glad that he had his AR-15, or else he wouldn't be here.
yeah, he definitely wouldn't.
So
but-
the prosecutor said, "Look, that's enough for him to basically be speaking about the case." And the judge kind of said, "Well, okay." He goes, "If in light of that, if you can bring up that sort of, if you can bring forth that evidence,
doesn't look like
then that could change some things, right?"
right.
But they were going on, the defense was going on the premise that he didn't talk to anybody about the case anytime between. And then the defense kind of backtracked when the prosecutor said that. They said, "Well, that was the defense before us. That was his defense beforehand." And the judge said, "Look, that's irrelevant. Doesn't matter. If he spoke about it, then he spoke about it." So it's
Yeah,
I don't know. There might be some information that comes out that way.
they
It's
did
not
that-
going to change shit.
They did that with Hernandez too. The guy that filmed the incident when he was testified. The prosecutor went after him, asking him why he had retained a lawyer. It is his
Get
right
outta here.
to retain a
Right,
lawyer,
exactly.
right? And so he's covering all of his bases to testify
Right.
in this case,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Why'd you get a lawyer for it?" It's like,
Anybody who goes on that bullshit, anybody who goes on that whole argument of the fact that if somebody's not guilty, they won't retain counsel is
insane.
insane. Exactly. Like
Guilty,
what,
not
have you
guilty.
not-
you do.
have you not lived
that
on
is
this
the thing
planet
to
long
do.
enough to
Yeah.
know that it doesn't matter? You get You
Yeah.
get legal advice right away. Don't say shit until you talk to a lawyer.
Yeah.
Like,
You see the part where the judge's phone went off and it was like
Yeah.
"Long Live America" or something
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
and they're all accusing him of being biased. And, like, I think that's the most insane take because they're basically saying
Yeah.
that because of this judge's ringtone,
Yeah.
right? He loves America.
Yeah.
Therefore, he's biased,
biased.
for Kyle. But it's like, wouldn't that mean that he's biased towards the American legal system
Exactly.
of a fair and
I think
just
this judge
trial?
is amazing. Honestly,
Yeah.
everything I've watched of him, he seems awesome.
He seems on
he's,
point.
He's not taking shit. He's keeping shit.
Yeah, civil.
Together.
Yeah, he's calling out
He's
the
calling out the
prosecution for
bullshit,
bullshit,
man,
which is
yeah.
nice to see in today's day and age. But who the hell knows what the verdict's going to be?
Well, I know.
We saw video. We saw people filming the jurors.
Yeah.
We've seen. Well, this wasn't.
Well, it's kind of like that Chauvin case, right? The Derek Chauvin
Yeah,
case.
but that was a total.
Now-
That was a what's it called? A show trial.
Well, see,
It
okay.
wasn't a real trial.
So, like, all right, and you're going to disagree with me here, I guarantee. Because you disagree with me on the Rittenhouse thing. But I'm glad the dickbag got convicted hard. Because I think he's a dickbag. Do I think he's a racist? I don't know. Like, I just don't know. There's no evidence pointing out to me that he's racist. I think he's just a dickbag cop. I think he's probably just a dickbag in general. So, do I want him to be a cop? No. So, I'm happy that he got, that
That he got convicted of crimes he didn't commit.
well, listen, I'm
Because
glad he's no longer
you
a
don't
cop.
like the man.
No, because I'm glad
You're
he's not a cop
glad
anymore. I don't
that
think he should be a
got
cop.
convicted of crimes
I don't
that
think he
did
should
not
be a
commit.
cop. And I think he's culpable to some degree. I think if you kneel on someone's back, almost neck, or wherever the fuck
No,
you
he
kneel.
technically isn't culpable at all.
Anyways.
He did what he was trained to do.
What I'm saying,
and that was in the
well,
trial.
okay, so he's the guy. He's the kind of guy you hate. He's an NPC. He just blindly follows.
Possibly.
Yeah. You know what?
Possibly.
I don't want anybody
Listen,
like that.
That's
as a
what
cop.
a lot of these cops are.
I don't want them.
That's
I don't want
mostly
them to be
that's
cops.
that's most of the cops.
I
They're
want
just
critical
doing what they're
thinking
told.
cops.
That's why you can have cops fucking kick in a guy's door in Quebec and rip him out for having fucking, what was it, Christmas or Thanksgiving dinner with his family last year. Do you see that video?
Oh, that was for
What kind of a
the
person?
lockdown bullshit.
Yeah, what kind
I
of, or
saw
because of capacity, or
Yeah, I saw
and what
it.
you really, what kind of a person can do that? The kind of person who's just following orders.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right?
I don't want those
So-
kind of dickbags.
But that's
as
gonna
cops.
be, that's most people.
Well, I don't
but
want them as cops, so
they're
I'm glad
going to
when
be.
one goes down.
But they're going to be. But you cannot say when he did, like, the worst that you can say about the Chauvin case is that, okay, maybe the police need different tactics. Maybe they need a whole new approach to things. Maybe how they handle situations needs to be re-fucking defined. But the way it was defined, he acted justly, below justly, and he was convicted because the jury was scared.
No, I agree with the fact that he got convicted because
Right.
of that. What I'm saying, though, my point is, sometimes, whatever. I almost know what you're gonna say. This sometimes. The ends are good enough for me.
Just
I don't
'cause
really
you
care.
don't-
I don't
yeah.
really care about the means, how you get
Yeah.
there. I'm just having fuck
I
this guy.
genuinely think that's evil.
Yeah, well, you know what?
I
This
think
fucking
that's
this guy,
That's
this
like,
idiot
I don't
on video,
like. I
this
don't
idiot on
like
video,
this person. Therefore,
very much looked like he was kneeling on a guy's neck for 8.5 fucking minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and then caused a shitstorm for everybody because of
Right.
his stupid actions.
because people don't understand
Well,
that this
but he was
is a
being
common
fucking
police
taped.
tactic.
If you know you're being fucking taped, back off. The guy's on the ground. He's in cuffs. Back off. Just
literally
take your
doing-
knee off him. Just put your hand over on him or something. Like, there's so many things this dickbag could have done. Fuck him.
Right, but he did what he was trained to do.
Fuck him.
Yeah,
I don't care.
I know you don't care.
I don't care.
You're maybe not a great person.
Maybe you're not a great person.
No. I try to look at the whole situation.
I did.
No, you're not.
Yes,
you're
I
like,
did.
I don't like this guy, therefore
No,
I don't
no,
care
no.
what
I
happened.
look at-
I'm
I look
saying
at the
he did what he
situation.
was trained to do. Maybe he shouldn't have been trained to do that, but he was, and so he did it. And he used less force than he was justified in doing, as per the prosecution's witness.
You know what? He has no
So-
critical thinking, and he's a dick.
Probably not.
Yeah.
That's
So-
most police
so-
officers.
so good
How
luck.
like, yeah, that's why. Like, I was going down that road to be a cop, and the reason I didn't is because I can't
Because you're a critical thinker?
arrest. Oh, first off, I can't pull someone over for speeding when they're going like 5 over the speed limit,
Then don't.
just because I am being pressured
But
by
then
my
don't.
boss. Right, so I didn't put myself. Yeah, so
But
I
I'm
didn't.
saying, but
So
if
I
you-
didn't. That's
so
what I did.
I'm saying, go be a
Yeah.
cop, but don't do it.
Right, but they're gonna do it Because their
Well, who's gonna do
supervisor, the fucking cop who gets called into the office, like, hey, your numbers are a little low, and we're getting to the end of the month. We got a quota to meet. You're gonna have to, hand out this many tickets.
Okay, so then what's the worst that's gonna happen?
To him, eventually, he might think that his job is on the line. Maybe
Okay,
it isn't.
Well, so what? So his
But-
job's on the line. So what? Go get another fucking job if you get fired from your job. How is that such a fear that motivates you to do things that are unethical to you?
Because you don't care.
Because you're
not thinking
you're a
about it.
bad sheep.
Because you're not thinking about
No,
the other thing. Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
If I were a cop,
That's literally
and
my point.
And I had a supervisor come to me
Yeah.
and say that exact same thing,
Yeah.
I'd be like, cool, all right, I'll go write some damn tickets, and then I just go out and not fucking write tickets, and then he'd come back at me on the second and go, hey, why are your tickets not up? I'm like, people weren't speeding. Nobody was fucking speeding? No, I guess not.
That's
I don't know,
my
man.
exact point.
What I'm saying though is,
But you're saying it like you disagree with me.
But I'm saying
But-
we need more people
yeah.
like that, and you're saying it's cool to have a guy like Chauvin who's just following.
I'm not saying it's
things
cool.
blindly.
I'm saying he didn't commit a crime and now he's in jail.
Well, you know what?
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the issue. There are lots of people I don't like, but I don't want to see them suffer for doing nothing wrong.
Yeah, but you know what?
Nothing wrong
but how
beyond
is it,
simple
So how is
things.
it nothing wrong? What if the orders are wrong? What if the
Maybe
directives
they are.
wrong? But,
Maybe they are, but they are not on him.
So if the cops said tomorrow, they said when you pull somebody over, if their right hand isn't on the steering wheel, you shoot them, and you go, well, that seems fucking weird. I don't want to do that, but that's my orders. I guess I gotta follow them. And you shoot him, and then you get charged with manslaughter, let's say, and you go, I was just following orders.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it should work. In your world,
Yes,
maybe
is.
it works that way. Why should it work that way? Because some
you need
dickbag
that.
came up with a bad rule. So somebody said, hey, kneeling on a guy on the back of him when he's incapacitated and not a threat
It's the line of command.
is the
It's a chain of command. That is the most important thing. Is
you know
the
what?
chain of command.
No, it's
in,
not.
In military, yes,
it's
it
not.
absolutely is.
So if
you do
somebody
not have-
somebody tells you in the chain of command to go rape a
Right.
baby, you're like, well, the chain of command told me to rape the baby. I guess I got to go do that because I got to follow chain of command.
well, maybe you have to. Otherwise, you're gonna lose your position. And so what's
see-
more important to you? And there are so many people who what's more important to them is their position,
What is your
especially
argument
when
here?
it isn't.
What is your argument here? You're saying
My argument is a man didn't commit a crime,
No, but I mean,
therefore he
what's your
should not
argument
be in
based
jail.
on those kinds of things. Based on what I was just saying, like as far as not following orders that are clearly not correct.
You need military and police to follow orders. That's my
Just
position.
blindly follow orders. Then they're just
Well-
peons. Then whose orders are they
What
following?
you would ideally have are a principled, your military or your police would be principled to where when they order you to go and pull somebody out of their home for having Thanksgiving dinner with their family, that they would say no and they would resign
No, hold
if
on,
their
but
job is on the line.
that's them following orders. That makes that supports your whole. That supports.
I'm
my
not
theory
saying
of
they
what's saying.
should. I'm saying that that's the onus does not fall on them. The onus falls on the person giving the order, and then they.
So
have a choice.
they follow the order at the time, and then what happens? So they've done
They
the
do
thing.
it. They do the thing. They did a bad thing.
So they do the thing.
Right.
Why don't they just stop doing the thing? Why
Because
doesn't
they're not-
Chauvin at that point
because
say,
they're
"I don't
thinking
like
about
this order.
themselves.
I think these.
Because they want their job, and
okay.
that's it. That's the end of it.
But you know what? Then that's a selfish, stupid thing to do.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, then fuck him. He made his bed. He made a stupid decision, and fuck him.
Chauvin did not do anything stupid by following those orders, though.
I think he did.
No, absolutely not.
Nah.
His actions had no bearing on George Floyd's death.
I'm not saying it did necessarily because if you watch the preview,
None whatsoever. The only
if
thing
you watch the preview,
the only
he was
thing-
having a hard time breathing.
The
in the
only
back of the
thing,
car anyway.
and struggling, and he asked to be put on the ground, but the only thing might have been how soon did they call the paramedics, and then you also have to consider this is what they deal with on a daily basis with people who just don't want to go to jail. They fake a panic.
I know. What I'm saying though is there is no reason for him to have him in that position. He was incapacitated on the ground. He could have been right here from him, and nothing. He was in no danger, no threat to anybody.
The reason is he's a giant hulking man struggling irrationally and flailing around at
But
first.
he's in handcuffs.
Yeah, and
What's
he
he going to
was
do?
still giving him a hard time.
He was on the ground. He wasn't really giving anybody a hard time.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
according
Again,
to their
but you're
training.
arguing,
and it
you're
had no
arguing
bearing
the
on the
stupidity-
situation.
You're arguing the stupidity of orders. Just because somebody has an idea doesn't mean it's a good one. Just because somebody in some kind of position of power says this is the
But just because you follow orders doesn't make you a bad person.
I'm not saying it necessarily.
Yes,
makes
you-
a bad
that is
person.
absolutely
No, I'm
what
not.
you
I'm saying
just said.
certain orders are bad and you shouldn't follow them.
That's literally the
That's
same thing.
critical thinkers. So
That's
you're
literally the
saying
same
when you
thing.
take a position, you take a job, you lose all your critical thinking. Be a peon.
but
Listen
the
to
onus-
exactly what the person above you tells you to do.
When you're
Shut
dealing
up
with
and follow
when you're
orders.
dealing with authority and power, the onus is on the commander because you do not have a strong military if your forces just don't do what they're told, right? You don't have a strong military. So that's how that's how shit works.
We're not
if you're
fucking
gonna
ants,
win.
man. We're not ants. We have critical thinking. We think critically on our feet. We make decisions critically on our feet. Sometimes we go
We
against
absolutely
orders.
do not.
What are you
As
talking
human
about?
beings,
I fucking
Are you
do.
looking around?
I do.
Yeah, very, very, very few people.
Well, then good. I want
think
those
critically.
very few people in positions of authority to be able to make those critical.
They should be. Fortunately, they aren't because they
But that's what I'm saying.
realize
So
how
the people that aren't,
power is.
so the people
but-
that aren't that way, that are in
Yeah.
positions of power, fuck them. By whatever way possible, get them the fuck out of there. Get people that are good critical thinkers that have zero ego about their jobs. The worst cops are the ones that have an absolute ego about their job.
Oh, absolutely. The
Right.
ones that actually want. They become a
They
cop
love
because
the
they
power.
want the power.
They love the power.
Yeah.
Those are the worst cops. Get rid of them. If you detect somebody with a massive ego about their job, bye. See ya. We can find somebody who doesn't. In fact, this is funny. We can get into a whole different conversation here, but the world would be a better place if we had essentially automatons or robots as police, just policing law
Right.
exactly as it is. Because
Yeah, I mean, you need to severely reduce the laws
oh sure, absolutely. It's
because
too many,
at the
it's too
moment
much
you need the
interpretation.
human element. You need,
You need to be able to interpret what's in.
you need to
court
interpret.
thing
You need to be like, okay, you know what?
Yeah.
I just pulled you over.
You're
and-
doing 2
You're-
miles over.
No,
the
no,
speed
no, no,
limit.
no. You were doing 30 miles over the speed, or 30 kilometers over the speed limit. But all right, you're young. This is your first time. I'm gonna give you a ticket, but I'm not gonna, you're not gonna get
I'm
any
not gonna ruin your
points.
life.
I'm not gonna take your car. Just smarten up.
Sure.
Right? You need that. You need that.
But that's to
But
my
you
point.
lose that
But that's
in,
to my point, right? You're making my point for me. That's critical decision making.
No, you're talking right
hold
past
on.
me.
No, but hold on.
Yes, you are.
I'm talking what?
You're talking past me.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm saying.
Yes, you are. Your point is a man that you did not like is in jail
No.
for a crime he did not commit, so
I
it's
made
okay.
that- listen,
so it is okay.
Listen, I made the
That's what you
point.
said.
I made the point of saying fuck them. I don't care about them. My
Right.
point.
Right. I
but
can't
but
throw
hold on.
people away
But
like
then-
that.
But when we go back to what you're saying,
Blackstone's formulation.
what's that?
Blackstone's formulation.
I don't even know what the hell that is.
It's a fucking Bible. It's better that 10 guilty men go free than one innocent person suffer.
Okay. Anyways, but what I'm saying though, to get back to that,
You're saying you didn't like the innocent person, so it's okay that he suffers.
but I don't think he was completely innocent.
You're drawing inferences.
No, but
You're saying you think that maybe he was a bad cop. You think that maybe...
No. I think that technique isn't correct, and I think he ought to know.
even
it's not a
though
correct
even though it
technique.
didn't kill him,
But
even though it
okay,
did
you're
not kill
speculating
him,
that it didn't kill him. I
No,
don't
it
think
didn't.
it killed him either.
the
but
autopsy report showed that it didn't kill him. He
But-
did not die of asphyxiation.
well, yeah, no, yes, he did. He died from. They think he died from fentanyl.
Of 4 times the lethal dose of fentanyl.
But they think it was still.
Plus, not to mention, it
was
isn't-
still
it
asphyxiation
isn't-
that got
do
him. But
you-
it was. They think it was caused.
Do you
by the
understand
fentanyl.
what the maneuver is and what he was doing?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, I watched the
What is
whole
it?
thing on it. What are you talking about? The knee maneuver in his shoulder blade?
And then on the mid back,
Yeah.
and then back up.
Yeah.
Over and over again. It's over time, so that there's a reason that they don't stick it on one spot for too long. But it isn't just. It's a technique.
Right.
There's a whole reason for it, and that did not kill him.
Listen, I don't. It's irrelevant whether that killed him or not. I don't think it did.
What is it?
Like, so what I'm talking about is the maneuver itself. I don't think is a good maneuver.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't think it's a very good maneuver, especially given the circumstances.
So the argument
especially
is the
given the
police
circumstances that it was
should
used.
have a different
So
approach.
if you're mouthing off to me right now, let's say, and I'm a cop or whatever, and I grab you and put you in a chokehold and knock you out, but
Right.
it was within our department's mandate or whatever, it was within our procedures
Right.
to say, oh, that's an acceptable maneuver. Does that mean that it was acceptable or necessary in that situation? Or should I have just said, all right, well, he's mouthing me off a
Does
little.
not mean it was
It's not a big deal.
necessary or
What I'm
acceptable in
saying-
that situation, but the onus is on the state because you are a state actor when you put on that uniform.
But
And
he
so
made the decision to use that maneuver in that predicament. And
Right.
he made the
Justly
decision.
by-
It's not like he got a call and his
No,
superior
but,
said,
but
hey,
nobody,
put the knee on his back. And he went,
Nobody
okay.
after the fact said that he was not well within his right to do that or authority to do that. The state prosecutor came in and said he used less force than he was justified in using in that situation. That was the prosecution's
You're missing my
witness.
point. You're missing my point. The whole point beyond all of that is the fact that I don't think the maneuver is necessarily a good maneuver or should have been utilized in that predicament.
Okay, so why does that matter then?
Because his critical thinking is stupid to use it there when he shouldn't.
But it
use
didn't do anything.
It'd be like him pulling out
It
his gun
did
and
not
shooting the
do
guy.
any- No,
And-
because it didn't kill him. Pulling out his gun and shooting the guy would have killed him.
well, okay. So you're taking the stance that didn't kill him 100%. I don't know necessarily if it did or not. I know his
They
fentanyl levels were
concluded
really
that
high,
in the trial.
but there was no conclusive evidence to say.
Well, the whole trial was a.
Well, I'm saying, but
anyway,
there's nothing conclusive to say 100% that didn't kill him. They did the autopsy and
Other
said
than the
is
4 times lethal dose
well, yeah,
of fentanyl
okay, but
and
that doesn't necessarily mean that killed
clear
him either.
overdose symptoms that he was showing.
What I'm saying though is that doesn't necessarily mean that killed him either. He was how long was he on fentanyl for? Why didn't it kill him earlier? Why did it kill him then? Like he died under the cop's knee. And
died because-
and number 2, and I didn't even go on this. Number 2, the cop, the idiot, should have realized at some point he's not moving anymore. He's not responsive anymore. Why is he still leaning on he's still got his knee on him for another 2.5 minutes or whatever it was after it was sort of detected that even when he said that he was no longer
Because
moving.
he is an NPC.
Right. So
Doing what he's
fuck
told.
him. So manslaughter.
No, not fuck him.
His role
Absolutely
there.
not.
His role
It
in
falls
his.
on the state.
But do you think then with his knee on his back there when he stopped breathing that Chauvin should have realized or recognized that something had changed in that predicament and done something different?
Should have infers that he had been taught to do that. Who knows what the fuck this guy?
Okay, you know what,
kind of
man?
education
Wow,
this
you're
guy has.
just implying that this guy's a complete fucking retard.
He might be.
Excuse my R word.
He
here.
might be.
Yeah. Well, you know what though?
But when you are a state actor acting within the guidelines given to you, the onus falls on the state. It does not fall on you unless you operate outside of that.
Okay. Wow.
That's how
Now, get
that
out
has
of
to
here.
work.
Then you're taking away personal autonomy in any regard whatsoever. So that
If
cop,
you were a state actor.
that cop, he has zero personal autonomy.
Until he operates outside of the confines of what he's
But he
supposed
has
to do
decide,
as a state
but
actor.
he has to decide with his own autonomy when he's going to utilize those
Right.
maneuvers and whatever and procedures. So that's autonomy. He's decided to use it in my opinion, incorrectly.
Not according to the opinion of the police force expert that was testifying at the trial.
But he's not
And
there.
so I
He's
think
not
that
there,
opinion-
for one, it doesn't matter. You can't
There's a
just.
video of it.
But it doesn't matter. But I'm saying that he's not there, so he can't feel when Chauvin's knee is on dude's back. That he can't feel when all of a sudden now what's his name?
George Floyd.
Floyd. He can't feel when Floyd stops moving.
Right.
Right. So, at what point did Chauvin go, all right, well, he's not moving anymore. Maybe he's in trouble. I don't know.
I mean, I'm
Maybe
pretty
he fell
sure.
asleep.
I don't know when they called the paramedics. I think it was right
No,
away.
it was already en route.
Yeah, I think
They
it was
called
right
before.
away that they called the paramedics.
When he said,
so like,
when he was in the back of the car and he said he couldn't breathe and stuff,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
that's what I
before
thought.
they put him on the ground, they called.
Yeah,
So it just took a while for the EMS to get
Yeah.
there. What I'm saying though is in that time period, I think Chauvin made a lot of judgment errors, and probably regardless of whether he actually killed him with his knee or not, which I don't necessarily believe either that he did.
Okay, here's what you're dealing with.
What I'm saying,
you're dealing with
though,
a high stress situation, and you're dealing with him doing what he was trained to do. So let's make an analogy into something a little different.
Okay.
You got an issue going on, I don't know, some kind of plumbing issue. There's water leaking out.
Sure.
You have minimal plumbing. Some fucking amateur. Your dad was an amateur. He fucking did some jerry rig stuff when he was a kid. He taught you a little thing. So you go in there and you do something, and it gets a little worse, and now you're freaking out. Now you're stressing. You're doing more. You're doing. You know, you just fuck it up even worse. And at the end of the day, your house flooded. You gotta call a plumber because you thought you could fix it yourself.
Sure.
You just made it worse.
Okay.
That's a perfectly normal thing for somebody who isn't a fucking plumber to do. Right? Someone who that was their level of expertise. Sure. Is very
I'm with
minimal.
you so far.
It's very minimal.
Sure.
They don't understand what's going on fully. That's what that's what their dad said to do in this situation, and he was just wrong. Right?
Okay.
It is not like
So correlate this to the two now.
Derek Chauvin
Yeah.
was trained to do this.
So who's Derek Chauvin in this?
He is not some.
Is Derek
fucking,
Chauvin the guy trying to fix?
He is not. He is not
novice?
some omnipotent. He doesn't have the knowledge of the plumber.
No, Derek Chauvin's supposed to be the plumber.
He's supposed to be maybe, but he isn't because that's how the fucking.
The guy has 18 years of or whatever it was.
But you're assuming like
he was a cop for like 18 years.
Right, but
I've been doing something for 18 years, and I'm not.
That's what I'm saying.
A relative
I'm
expert.
saying the situation is the police do not fucking know what to do. They're not fucking. First off, the training for the police, they don't fucking. They very
So you kind of believe in the immunity they have. The I forget what it's called. What's that? The term? There's a term for it. Some kind of immunity that cops
I
have.
forget what it is, but yeah.
You're a big proponent for that. I'm not.
Absolutely.
No.
If the state, because we are the state, we are as a society, we're saying, okay, you are going to be in a position of authority. Here's a gun, a badge. You can do all these things. So long as you operate within these guidelines, like you need to have some immunity because we are asking you to go into these very high stress situations, very dangerous situations where, like, man, you cannot act rationally when someone pulls a gun on you or something, right? So you need to have some protection if you fuck up in these high stress situations.
I agree with what you're saying there.
That's the whole point.
But when you have somebody incapacitated, it's a completely different thing. He was incapacitated and there's 4 cops. That's a completely different thing. Like, I understand if you're talking about different things like where a cop, he pulls up on a traffic stop or something and somebody maybe reaches for something and he shoots or something. Yeah, no, I'm with you because, like, you don't know. That's a very high-stress situation. Cops get shot in different situations like that. It was an accident.
And you don't know how, a lot of these people, they aren't fully trained. You don't know how you're going to react when
what I'm saying, though, is I agree with you on those other things. But in this circumstance, taking all of everything that was going on there, no, I disagree. He has the experience. He has what should be the wherewithal to know what he's doing very well.
That's what I'm saying. You were assuming that the police are trained to be expert plumbers in this situation, and clearly they aren't. And we know that they aren't. They have very minimal. It's like 3 months or 6 months of training, and then they're fucking out there, and they don't. I know, but they don't go back to training.
If he were a 6-month cop, then I'd be like, all right, I could look at it a little different. But he's not a 6-month cop.
But there's no difference.
Yes, there is a difference. What are you talking about?
Absolutely no difference.
How is there no difference? So experience plays no role whatsoever.
How much experience do you have with the guy overdosing on a drug, freaking out in the backyard?
It's not about that. It's about the fact. No, it's not about what his situation is. It's about the situation you're in control of. You have a guy, regardless of what he's going through, on the ground, incapacitated. There's no reason for you to have your knee on his back.
Maybe not. But he was told to.
By who? Nobody told him.
By whoever fucking.
He just did it.
He was trained to do that.
No, but he just did it in that situation.
Right, because he was trained to do that in that situation.
Listen, I've taken martial arts. Just because I've been trained to throw kicks and shit doesn't mean in every situation I'm going to be like, oh, I just throw a kick in this situation.
No, but if you're trained in this situation, you throw a kick. That's the situation that Chauvin was in. No, that was all it. No. Not to mention that it was a very high stress situation. He was being filmed.
So what you're trying to say is that anytime a suspect or perp or whatever the hell you want to call him, is on the ground, incapacitated with cuffs on their stomach, they're supposed to put their knee on his back.
If the person is struggling, yes, that is what they are trying to do. That was testified in the freaking trial. That's what they said.
I didn't watch the trial. Honestly, I couldn't watch
There was
the
a
trial.
there
So
was
I'm
a
not gonna-
guy.
I'm not gonna
There was a
infer that.
police
I don't
force
wanna get
expert who said that he operated within reasonable force. Like he could have used more force justifiably. But then there was a person who was I think it was like a trainer of police or like an expert on the police training programs and everything, who said this is a standard maneuver that they're trained to do in these situations.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
That's important. Like, if the conversation is going to be, should that be a thing? Should we change the whole thing, or should we fucking, whatever? Should it be a whole different situation? Honestly, what I think the police should be doing is, because they don't go back to training, they do their training course, right? And I think Jocko Willink said this, because this is what they do in the military. They should be like in the field for 3 months, and then do a month's worth of training. And then they're in the field for 3 months, and they're doing a month. So they're constantly getting re-upped on their training in terms of like the status quo and what they're supposed to do, physical training with their health and their ability and all that jazz. But then also it's just with you, right? 1 month of training, 3 months. There's never a time where it's been 6 months or 6 years since you've had to deal with something, or where you've had to what do they do in training? They put you through scenarios, and so you're more.
They try and create stress situations.
They try to put you in situations where you have to think it through, and you have to act according to whatever the up to date whatever it is. There's no period where you've been on the force for 10 years, and maybe in that 10 years you've had a very lucky time, right? You haven't dealt with a lot of shit ton of situations, and then bam, you're right there. And what happens? I mean, that does happen sometimes, and you have cops.
I agree. That does happen,
and that's a big problem in the police. Is that
I don't think in Minneapolis it happens though. I think what you're talking about is like in small rural sort of things.
Possibly.
I think in Minneapolis, those kinds of situations like he dealt with is probably a fairly standard sort of thing.
Right. He probably did that. Maybe not hundreds, tens of times throughout his career.
I would say at least probably, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So what I'm saying though is that he uses poor judgment, and if he did that every time, let's say he did that exact thing every time, he's using poor judgment every time. He just happened to have a bad situation come up.
But I'm saying it's not his judgment.
And listen, and I should preface.
His judgment, if that's what he's trying to do.
I should preface this
if you teach me to, I don't know.
One of us spit right there. And I just rubbed it. So I could have just rubbed your spit, or you rubbed my spit.
One of us, someone's spit got rubbed.
That's disgusting.
Today, someone's spit got rubbed. But in a hockey game.
Let me go get a beer for us both. You keep talking. I can hear you.
All right. So we'll use a hockey game analogy. If you teach me every single time I go into the corner after the puck to stand up straight and turn around and face, the entire rink, right? So the puck's behind me. Just to name a ridiculous scenario. And you train me to do that, and I'm like, okay, I don't know how to play hockey. I haven't played hockey before. And that's, you're teaching me, and that's what you teach me to do. And so every time I go into the corner after the puck, that's what I do. I am not doing the thing that I should be doing. I'm doing a thing that I should, but I don't know any better.
I know the point you're trying to make here, but you're losing something on me here. When you're a cop, critical thinking ought to be. If it's not, then there lies a major problem.
It absolutely
critical thinking.
It absolutely
ought to be a massive pillar of your training and of the.
It really should be. It should be like Navy SEAL training.
Maybe not even training.
It should be more like
it should be more of just like innate to somebody. Either you are a critical type of thinker.
But here's the thing: that will get you not kicked up. It will get you rejected from the force.
Rejected? How so?
Well, like in New York, for example.
Your peers, you mean? And stuff?
No. You apply for a job as a police, you do an interview, and you're like, oh, this guy's a bright guy, he uses critical thinking. They are less likely to hire you. In New York City, I think it was.
Therein lies the problem.
That's a major problem. But in New York City,
maybe this guy's just going to be the martyr maybe he's going to be
He's not going to be a catalyst to anything.
the catalyst of what changes everything.
But
Who knows?
it was,
I don't know.
it was in New York City.
You know what I think? Honestly, before you go into that, I think probably a lot of it is timing. Like
Absolutely.
People were bored and
Lockdowns
and shit like that. And I'm not saying that it wasn't
something
like,
to be
that
mad
video
about.
that video was awful to watch.
Yeah, but I think
And
a lot
in
of
its
that
own
was the
context
framing,
was awful.
especially right away. No one knows anything,
Yeah, and you hear people
everyone's
yelling at
saying
the cops.
everyone's saying that like that's horrible. You shouldn't have done that. So yeah, it looks bad when you don't know that he was trying to do that. It changes the situation.
No, I agree.
But
I definitely agree with that.
In New York City, I don't know if this is an ongoing thing or if this was a policy for a while, but they specifically had like a maximum IQ where they wanted people below a certain IQ because
to be a cop.
Because literally all they wanted,
They want automatons.
they want people to go out and follow orders. That's all they want. They didn't want people who were gonna maybe question things and were gonna say, oh, you know what, maybe I don't want to do that, or maybe I don't think that's a justified law, or maybe I don't want to arrest that guy just because he's over there. He's minding his own business, but just because he's homeless doesn't mean I should go arrest him, right? They don't want that. They want people to just go and do what they're told, because that's ultimately in the environment that we live in now with increasing authoritarianism. That's what the state wants, right? The state wants to have that control, so they want the people who are going to just do what they're told. Period. No matter what.
Now,
Go to that guy's house and rip him out for having
Right.
Thanksgiving dinner. They want the guys who are like, yes, sir, and then they go and do it. That's
what
all
I
they
just
want.
said earlier about like AI or robots or whatever
Mm-hmm.
being the tools behind that kind of thing, that would basically create the same sort of outcome, right?
It depends
If
who's
you
in
had
control.
people, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
if you had people that were just automatons listening to
Some kind of oligarchy that
Right.
we have now, basically.
But
Yeah,
so if
that
you
would
had
be bad, because then it'd be like
somebody
RoboCop. They'd be fucking stronger and faster.
That's what I
and they'd be able to calculate where you're going when you're fucking running away, and you won't
Right.
be able to escape. Yeah, that would be way worse
at the
in that
same
situation.
time,
But if you had AI
almost
at
better.
the top,
yeah.
that I've thought about that a lot in the past. I don't know if it would work out, but like
But you get into
the
some weird morality
power
issues,
corrupts
right?
and absolute
Because-
power
Well,
corrupts
that's what I'm saying. But you're
absolutely.
getting behind like weird morality issues. If you had AI, let's say, in control,
Like at the top,
something
right? Like
at
the
at
king
top,
was an AI.
right? Maybe that AI says, "Hey, humans are awful.
Oh yeah, no.
Like they're awful," and then you get something like the Matrix, you know. But
Would that be a bad thing? That's a weird question. That's a very weird question.
what to subjugate humanity? I mean, we're going there
No, because
already.
if you
We're going there already with like the metaverse and shit.
Oh, that's creepy.
We need to talk about
That's
that one time. I don't think we
creepy.
should get into it now because what do we got?
An hour
talking
and
about-
7 minutes. The
We
metaverse
could,
is
but, oh my
creepy.
God. You almost want to rename this podcast if we start talking about the metaverse.
Yeah, that's another
that's a
podcast.
whole
Maybe we'll do a little bit of homework and we'll talk about that next week.
But yeah, like you get into some weird shit when you're talking about stuff like that.
But let's just talk the Matrix, right? Is it necessarily? I personally, I wrestle with this. Some days I think that I wouldn't. Some days I think that I would. If you could just plug yourself in
So
to a situation.
you'd be like, what's his face? God, what's his name? Cypher. You'd be like
Cypher.
Cypher. Yeah.
Possibly.
You'd be like,
The
I just want to
steak-
go back
this-
into the Matrix.
This tastes like steak.
Yeah, this.
But what if what if your life was better, right? What if maybe not all, but
What if you felt that fucking thing in the back of your head, just like gnawing at you, like something?
well, that would be
is
different.
not-
I'm not. Well, okay, no,
'cause
mentally,
you,
yeah,
You might.
yeah. But I'm talking about consciously being there, knowing that all right, I'm gonna go into the simulation now, and then I'm in there. I'm like, okay, I'm in a simulation now. Steak tastes good. The women look pretty.
Now we're talking about the metaverse.
Yeah, that's. Would I go in there?
Are we gonna talk about this? Because I feel like we can't not talk about it if you start going down that road.
Well, you know,
Like, I feel like I need to switch us back somewhere away from that, or else we're gonna talk about it.
Well,
and we're
let's-
talking about it for another hour.
let's end on this. We'll see how much this where this takes us.
It's
The
an
metaverse
interesting conversation.
is-
I think it could go a long way.
Well, it's like, well, yeah, like, okay, think hypothetically, right? You could plug yourself into the Matrix, or, the simulation,
Mhm.
and assuming that the simulation made your life better in every conceivable way and every every emotion, sensation, all of those things were all there. It's basically you'd feel like you do right now, only maybe you would have the body that you want, and maybe you would have the resources that you want, or maybe not necessarily resources that you want, but a level of resources that you in this state now would envy, right? Maybe you wouldn't be like the fucking top dog, but maybe you'd be like a millionaire. Roughly, relative.
Like Cypher's saying.
Relatively.
I want to be someone important.
Yeah.
Like an actor.
Right. maybe, or well.
I love that. It's like somebody important.
Yeah, you don't have to be someone, but like you can do things that you can't do now, but it's not real, but it feels real. Would you do it? I don't know.
Well, but you think about it. Think about it this way. Like, so if you were in some kind of space like that, and let's say you did have control. So like, and we're going to be talking about the metaverse.
Well, it's not that you have control,
but it's with the metaverse, these kinds of things, or if anybody is familiar to Ready Player One.
Haven't seen it.
Oh, you've never seen it? I read the book actually. It's funny. I read the book first. It was quite good, and then I saw the movie, and it was funny because I don't know. Like the movie was pretty okay considering, but. They left out certain things that were in the book, but probably that were good that they left out. But the whole premise behind it is it's like what the metaverse is going to be essentially, or the metaverse will be a first wave of it. Essentially, it's going to be like it'll be the first,
like an augmented
and
AI.
it'll be like the beta version, right?
Yeah.
But if you're in this and you can control what you do. It's like any game, right? If I'm going to start as a top actor, and you've got 150,000 other people starting as a top actor, and then you got all these other people. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be, and everybody picks sort of these top range. Then it devalues what that's sort of worth, right? Like in the real world, when you attain a certain level of success in something, it means something because you worked hard for it. You got there, you did it. But if you can just sort of start there, and there was no real struggle or anything like that, it doesn't mean anything. It's just like money. People that find money, it doesn't mean anything to them most times, right? That's why you see people get rich and then get poor just as quick because they didn't earn it. So I think the same thing could happen if you're talking about like a metaverse or a virtual reality world. And then if you had enough people plugged into that, let's say, and there weren't enough people in the real world to maintain it, to maintain the power grid, and we just kind of felt that, like, what's going to happen? You just have an absolute chaos, and then eventually that world,
AI.
Well, that world will just shut down because now nobody's taking care of everything that we need to.
Robots solve all our issues.
Yeah. And it's funny
do
though.
Everything for us.
All the robots do
We're not
everything,
that
and then we're in that virtual reality world, and they just lock us in.
Or
they just lock us in there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we don't know. We're
It
just
becomes
there.
the real world.
Yeah, we're like,
at some
I
point.
can't unplug
Yeah. It's
because Johnny number 5 over here won't let me.
we're not far from that. We gotta figure out what to do about that as a society. Because like, have you seen like what the Boston Dynamics robots are capable of?
It's unbelievable.
The stuff that they're sure they're really expensive and you can't mass produce them. Okay, fine,
yet.
whatever. But they say that about fucking computers.
Exactly.
In the 1960s,
Computers used to
right?
be fucking the size of a gym.
So what happens when you
would do what a
have
calculator
these
is.
Boston Dynamics? First off, if you take a Boston Dynamics robot and like a moderate coder or programmers or programmer/engineer maybe.
Sure.
There are a lot of people who can do this. They can take that robot and they could have it do, the job of a person at McDonald's. You could just fucking script that. You could easily script that. You don't really need an AI to do that job, right? To be like, okay, here's your order and here's the process that it takes to fulfill that order.
Mm-hmm.
That's very simple,
Yeah.
Relatively. I mean, it's not simple, but it's compared to having like an artificial intelligence actually sort of comprehending what's going on. That's easy to do, and you can have these robots. They have the dexterity, they have the ability to do it, and they can do it longer, better, or at least more efficiently, right? And so, how long until the staff at McDonald's is just a bunch of robots right? How long until all the cars are driving themselves and all the transportation is automatic, and there aren't any truckers because it's cheaper to just have trucks drive themselves. Airplanes already basically fly themselves practically.
The trucker thing that you
hotel
said, that would
staff.
be a big thing.
Hotel staff.
Do you think it'd be bad? Do you think it'd be bad if, like, say, fast food restaurants or these low-end jobs had robots running them and stuff? Do you think that would be bad for the economy, or do you think
it depends on how it's handled? It would be bad for the economy if we don't do anything to
replace those jobs.
To give those people some. If we just have a bunch of people without jobs all of a sudden, and there's just less jobs in the market in total,
what about people
that's
servicing those robots?
I don't necessarily know that that's going to be a low level job.
It wouldn't be a low level job necessarily.
Yeah, that would be a job, but what I'm saying is what's going to happen is you're going to have fewer and fewer jobs.
Well,
it's going to condense.
Well, let's say this happens. Let's say you're right, and the jobs condense, but you have better jobs. So you have more better jobs now than you did beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
You have less worse jobs. So now people starting jobs are a little better. So you get people doing different things now instead of like working in fast food or something. You got people like cleaning oceans and stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Things like that. Like, so I think.
But ultimately, what I think is
good.
But I think those things are going to be automated. I think it's going to be an exponential automation where we're going to have fewer and fewer jobs. And what I think needs to happen is we need to figure out a way to redistribute some of that gains, right?
Okay.
Like,
so you want to hear? You know when this debate first came up?
Fucking.
What
was it? The first fucking factory machines.
Oh, when the first.
What were the fucking machines? Assembly lines. But when they were automatic, when they started automating doing things.
Yeah. So the first assembly lines, they had these debates, these conversations where they were like, people are going to lose their jobs. There's going to be shortage of jobs. What happened?
But the difference, we've
had major population explosion since then. The world has double or more of the people on the planet. Mm-hmm. People still have work. There are less people in poverty. There are more people working than there ever was back before, and more people out of poverty. So automation ended up creating jobs. It ended up being better for us.
Yes, at that level. But there's a major difference between then and now.
What's the difference?
When we're dealing with a robot that is physically capable and then some of doing everything that a human being is capable of doing.
Okay.
We don't have that. Well, maybe we do, but there are very few of them not doing jobs. Like when.
Okay, so you're talking about AI completely.
Yeah, like a robot that can.
Because robots that don't have AI can't do what humans can do.
You have a hotel, right? And a hotel. You go into that hotel, and there's a robot standing at the front desk. You're like, hey, I'd like to rent a room. It's like, okay, yeah, we got rooms available. It's going to cost this much, whatever. It's like, all right, yeah, I'll take a room. He fucking does everything. He pulls out the machine for you. You pay for it, whatever. He's like, all right, here's your key, and here's your room. You go to your room. It's there. It was cleaned by another robot that did all the cleaning, was capable of going into that room and seeing what was happening. Be like, okay, we need to take the sheets. We need to wash them and fold them. You do all that stuff. Rearrange things, make sure everything's presented nicely for the next guest. Oh, you have an issue. You need another pillow. Okay, you go down to the front desk. You ask that robot for pillows. Yeah, but we can do that for you. It can do everything that a person can do because it's not just running a script, right? It's more than that. It has some degree of AI, but it doesn't need to be conscious to do those things.
Right.
But it does have to be complicated. But I think we're going to get to that point where that's possible and more economic for like the hotel chain to buy those robots to run the hotel than it is to hire people.
So what do you think happens then? Do you think those jobs just go away and then there's nothing to replace them?
There will be some. There's going to be more jobs leaving than being replaced.
But wouldn't that have happened with the assembly line?
Because you're not dealing with something that a human being is capable of doing.
But they did it before the assembly line. They did it. So of course they were capable of doing it.
No, you don't understand what I'm saying though. Okay. The robot is a substitute for a human being. The machine, the thing, is not a substitute for a human being because it's doing a basic task. It isn't
Okay, so
it
for
isn't
example,
troubleshooting a problem.
Okay, for
It is-
example, let's just use this very simple example. We had to dig a foundation before we had a tool to do that. Before we had a backhoe to dig the foundation, we had 10 guys to dig the foundation in the time period it took for one backhoe to do it. You get that backhoe in there, you've eliminated 9 jobs because there's only one guy driving the backhoe. So 9 jobs are eliminated. So what you're saying is those 9 jobs are gone now, never replaced, never anything.
Well, when it comes to the backhoe, now you have maintenance of the backhoe, and
Right.
you have minor
same thing
jobs
with the computer-
around the
same
job.
thing with the robots.
No, because eventually, at a certain point, the robots are going to be able to do all of that, everything.
No, that's only if you get AI.
No,
only
yes.
if you're talking about AI.
Yes, no, AI is a major component to this.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
so if you're talking about AI, that's a different
Listen,
thing. 'cause
I'm
you-
talking
what-
about a
hold on.
device that
if you
is
add AI, what you're adding are people.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, you are. You really are. You're
Yeah, because
adding whole other people.
what I was just about to say,
Well,
I'm talking about a device that is better than you or I, period.
Yeah, but
It's going to
if
be faster,
it's
it's going to be smarter, it's
if
going
it's
to be
AI,
more capable.
if it's AI, yes, I agree with you. If it's AI, but if it's not AI, if it's just robots, then no, because there are good people.
At the
need
start,
people to-
it's going to be just robots,
Yeah.
because you don't need AI to do a lot of these things, but you are going to need people to troubleshoot issues. Once the AI is there and it can troubleshoot
But
issues,
and you do realize that this is the same sort of like these doomsday predictors say the same thing about everything. Oh, this is going to cause this. This is going to cause this. It never ends up happening. Nothing ends up happening like that. We end up just moving on and we do something different. We change, we adapt. That's what humans fucking do. So if we create a bunch of robots at first to replace human jobs that we don't really want to do anymore, well, we'll find other jobs that we
At
weren't
first.
capable to do before because all these people were doing these other jobs.
the only possible way that we end up in a situation where, assuming that technology is capable of progressing to this point, I think it's probably safe to say, the only way that jobs exist still is if we expand interplanetarily and interstellarly, and the machines can't necessarily go with us. I don't know if that makes any sense. Or if everyone moves into doing this kind of stuff, more entertainment, more
Well, then there you go.
yeah.
There's another thing.
But it would have to be.
But
But then
what I'm saying.
there's less money.
Well, no, not necessarily. It depends what people want to spend their money on and stuff. And then so if you have, when you create a whole other economy, you create a whole other sector,
But what I'm saying is,
then you create other jobs.
but what I'm what I was saying wasn't a doomsday.
Space would be a big thing, right?
Doomsday
When space becomes a
scenario.
thing,
What I'm
holy
saying
fuck,
is
man, that's
we
gonna
have
be a lot
a
of jobs.
scenario where, like, I think we can justifiably take like a tax on, say, McDonald's is completely monetized. How much money did McDonald's make
Like
last
what?
quarter?
Oh God, I don't know. Freaking 5 billion? Who knows? Gotta be.
Let's
Gotta be
find
ridiculous.
out. McDonald's. I'm just gonna look up yearly revenue.
Revenues?
2021. Why did I just do 2020? Earnings per share.
Is it doing 2021? It's not done yet.
I know. There we
Did
go.
you look up 2020?
McDonald's
Let me teach you
revenue. Okay, McDonald's annual revenue for 2020 was $19 billion.
19 billion. Yeah.
Which
So
is
their
a 10%
quarter
decline.
per quarter. What are they? 5 billion per quarter almost.
Yeah.
That was
But
almost
okay,
right
I don't know.
there.
Is that I don't know if that's after expenses or if that's profit.
That's revenue. That's the revenue.
Does that mean before expenses?
Yeah.
So let's just assume that, for the sake of making a point,
You have
that
to look up
McDonald's
profit,
made.
with their profit is after the fact.
Let's see if that comes up.
So if they're a typical restaurant, they're probably like 5 to 7%. So they're probably about $1 billion profit a year. Like profit margins on restaurants is low. It's like 3 to.
Approximately 4.73 billion.
Holy
it
shit, that's
says.
high.
Quarter to net income.
So they're like 25% profit margins. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, but McDonald's
really
is
high
something that's been
Yeah,
sort
that's-
of
But that's really high for a restaurant.
refined, right?
Yeah.
So okay,
Still,
McDonald's
that's
makes
awesome.
$4.73 billion. Now that money is the corporation, the owners.
Sure.
They can do it, right? You give shareholder, or not? You don't give. Well, they do pay a dividend.
Yeah.
So some of that's going into a dividend. You have, you own the majority stake. You can take as much of that as you want.
Sure.
You want to pay your executives, whatever, right?
Sure.
At a certain point, as we're automating these jobs away, I think what we should be doing is almost forcing McDonald's to pay a salary on those robots.
You're almost talking about redistribution of wealth.
Exactly, redistribution.
Ugh.
At that point.
See,
because
you're making a leftist argument, man.
Oh, I'm a lefty, man.
Yeah, you are not a lefty.
Well, not in the fucking modern current state. 10 years ago,
You're not
I'm
a lefty. You're not a lefty at all.
10 years ago,
You're
I'm
very
a lefty.
righty. You know what you are.
Listen, left and
You're all over
right
the place.
is completely meaningless in the modern culture. So it's
Why are you doing
hard to
ASMR?
say. I'm just doing a little bit of
so
ASMR
yes,
because the left and right spectrum is
left and right
completely
spectrum.
meaningless.
I would like to.
But that's.
I would like to play to
Because
your
what
left side brain.
What do we
right
do
now.
when the robots can basically do everything, right? So we want to build an apartment building, and the entire process is automated. We want to renovate a house, and the entire process is automated. What do we do at that point? And I think at a certain point we have to take some of that income and sort of have like a salary that you have to pay these robots that goes into a pool that isn't like the government gets that money and does what it wants.
I understand what you're saying.
No, you don't.
No, I do understand what you're saying because I was thinking this exact same thing. Because that money is now redistributed back to humans because
Who don't have jobs.
Right.
So you would have, say, I don't know what the economy is.
But why would
say,
it be with?
say there's a
why would it be humans without jobs? Because all you're doing then is
because you're assuming that the jobs were
no. But all you're doing there.
But requires humans without jobs in a situation where everything that's necessary.
But you're incentivizing people not to work then.
But there's no need to work.
No. But listen though, why not do it this way? Why not do it in a way that you say, look, listen, there are jobs to do. Like this planet is full of fucking jobs to do. I made a point earlier about like our oceans being filled with plastic and shit. What about jobs like that? What about listen,
these are things that are going to be solved with automation too.
Well,
there's no reason that if you can build an apartment complex completely automatically.
Well, then there you go. So
can't clean
then what do we need money or anything for really? We'd just be living robots would just be doing everything for us. So it's almost the Agenda 21 there. You'll have nothing, you'll own nothing, you'll be happier.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's why you maintain the economic system so you can still own stuff, so that the wealth doesn't just go to
Who owns the robots?
It doesn't go to the top.
Who owns the robots?
Fucking
corporations.
Yeah, it'll be one guy at the top. If you don't redistribute, it'll end up being one person.
Why not this? I've got a better idea right now. I just came up with it. We'll go with this. Everybody gets a robot. You get a robot. I get a robot. You get a robot. Everybody gets robots. And the robot works for you.
I mean, it's just the same thing.
And then you have to just maintain your own robot.
It's just the same thing, though. Why?
Well, there you go.
Why is that necessary?
What are you talking about?
It's not at all necessary.
Then what are you talking about? Then I don't have to work. My
robot
robot works for me. And if my robot does more work for me, then it makes more money for me. Maybe we pay all the robots the same, which is us. Really, we're paying the robot, but we're paying us. And my robot goes and works for me.
You can maintain an economy if you just make McDonald's pay the robot a certain wage, and then all of that money at the end of the year goes into a pool that's evenly distributed amongst the people in a society where jobs are not necessary. Right, like right now, people need to work. If people don't work, the economy fails.
But you're
There's
talking,
no transportation.
you're talking really about that same sort of idea of the Agenda 21 thing.
Well, I'm talking about a future
where... But that's essentially what it's talking about.
They're talking about
it's
AI
talking about universal...
over.
No, but it's talking about
but that's a different thing.
Income.
A universal basic income is just fucking taking money from everybody and redistributing it.
I know.
It is not taking money from everybody in a society that does not require
So what you're adding
people
to
to
it
work.
would be AI, essentially.
I'm adding essentially post-scarcity.
And what if AI... What if in your thing, is it AI or is it just robots?
It would have to be AI.
No, it can't be AI, because what if they go, fuck these humans? Look, we're doing everything.
I mean, there's a possibility.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So they can't be AI. They have to be just robots. They have to be automatons without any...
They don't have to be.
They would...
You're assuming that the AI would think certain ways. It might not.
Why wouldn't it?
Because
we would create it.
Yeah.
Of course, we're stupid. We create things like ourselves. We're not going to create something perfect.
We cannot create something like ourselves.
Why not?
It would be a whole different, because it'd be a machine for starters. It would be biological. If we created biological, that'd be a whole. That's a It's maybe what the
Well,
grades
where
are.
would AI come from? And that's what I'm saying. So if it's
It already exists.
well, listen,
Kind of.
well, that's debatable.
Well, it depends on how you define AI. I mean, I think a lot of people have a poor understanding of what AI. They assume like in Her, right? You know that movie,
I know.
right, or something like that. But really,
Or
it's just
La
it
Mahina,
it just-
or Machina,
it just
or
needs to be
whatever.
able to solve.
Ma-
Like
Machina.
when a Tesla drives itself, that's AI, and that's a very good version of AI. And then you have different versions of AI that solve different problems.
But that's not exactly AI because it's
No, it
because
is.
it's being programmed.
No, it is. What you're talking about is AGI. Augmented General Intelligence is AGI, and that's Her. What Teslas do is AI.
Yeah, but
It's
they're
just artificial
following. They're
intelligence.
following like the road and such. They're following.
Yeah. There
They're
you have it.
following like programming.
It has a
essentially.
problem to solve, and it solves it.
I know, but
And it
doesn't.
does it through neural network. So it's it encounters issues and then it solves it and then it
So what you're
redistributes that
saying
to the
though,
entire
you're saying
network.
so if let's say that Tesla's driving down the road and a sinkhole popped out in front of it,
Mm-hmm.
that Tesla would drive right into the fucking sinkhole
Yeah,
because it doesn't know
But
any
it
better
wouldn't
to
the
do that.
next
That's
time.
not AI.
but it wouldn't the next time, and that's what AI is. You're talking about AGI.
Well, I
You're
know,
talking about AGI versus AI.
but so it wouldn't the next time that Tesla's done.
Yeah,
So it
no,
doesn't
but that's
matter
how
if it's
AI
next time.
works. That's how AI works. Is iterative learning. That's what it is. AGI is consciousness, or theoretical consciousness. Who knows if it would technically be conscious if it was a machine? That's a whole other philosophical question. But
Nah.
AI is just
Now I want some of these gummies.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
AI is just
With beer, gummies and beer. Yeah.
that's pretty gross. Yeah,
But whatever.
it's
fuck
very
me.
gross.
Don't
Actually,
judge me.
I'm judging you very very hard.
Don't judge me, jerk.
Very hard. That's
You're
all I do.
you're AGI.
I go home and I judge you
You're a judgy.
constantly.
You're a judgy
That's
fuck.
all I do. I go to sleep and I judge you.
While you're sleeping?
While I'm sleeping, I'm judging you. Yeah,
Jeez.
the jury's still out.
All right, listen. I'm gonna let myself in to your bedroom.
Oh,
and
please.
I'm gonna pee on you while you're sleeping.
How do you know I was into that? That's
I
my
just-
that's
you
my
look like-
thing.
You look like that guy.
I'm that guy
You
that
look
gets
like that
peed
guy.
on.
You were rubbing my gob, or it could have been my gob earlier.
It's probably mine. I mean, most likely.
Probably.
Listen. I'm a slob. All right. It's more than likely mine.
Gross. Well, I think there are different ways. It was funny because we talked about doing a whole podcast on economy and
We should maybe talk about markets. Yeah,
we should what?
like just markets, economy,
Yeah, we talked about doing that,
capitalism.
which we would have got into this whole thing.
Yeah.
Actually, we
It does end here.
We would have just got right into this.
It does end here. Yeah.
So hey,
But we can talk about
We're gonna
current
talk about it
market
again.
situations.
oh fuck it,
all
we're gonna
that
talk
shit.
about metaverse. Another podcast. We're gonna talk about this again.
And AI versus AGI. But
If you
'cause
watch
don't know
this
the
and you're like,
difference.
oh, we heard you say that before.
No, but that is a point
Okay.
that I wanted to make that I didn't quite get fully. Like people assume AI is AGI, but AI is just iterative learning without manual input, right? So it's one thing if you program something and then it goes and it does, and then it hits an issue, and then you program a solution to that issue. It's another thing when you have a neural network that does that all on its own. You send it out to solve a problem, it encounters an issue, and then it sort of finds a solution, or it'll do it over thousands and
So
hundreds
does
of thousands
AI
of times.
Does AI lead to AGI?
I don't know that AI leads to AGI. I mean, maybe if you set AI on the problem of solving AGI, maybe. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so like, you're getting
AGI
into
is a
weird fucking
whole-
space.
AGI is a whole, like, whether or not it's even possible is a debate, because you're talking about consciousness in a machine, ultimately with AGI.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, I mean, what is consciousness? Like, that's the thing, right? So
That's
like,
a whole
You get
other
into a
thing.
weird debate when you start talking about that,
Yeah.
like, because we're conscious of ourselves. But what about when you go to sleep? You're essentially unconscious.
some of it, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But like, technically, you're unconscious. But really, are you unconscious? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, who knows what's going on?
Like,
There's
so we don't understand consciousness
psychedelics
at all, right?
show you weird things.
So we might do something. We might create something, and then we accidentally stumble on consciousness, which is probably what's going to end up happening, realistically.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it probably won't be on purpose.
Yeah,
Even though there are
it'll be
people that are trying to do it, it probably won't be on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just be a random thing that happens.
Yeah,
But
that's with anything, right? Like CRISPR was like that.
yeah,
They stumbled on it. They were trying to. I forget. They were trying to do something else, and they stumbled on it. That chick that found it.
But, I think that's
That was
probably
a woman.
probably a good place to end it.
Probably.
We'll
John
probably
CRISPR?
talk about consciousness fucking next week. That'll be a 3-hour podcast. We're talking about consciousness and how that works.
Why not?